Why, hello there. A Knife's Tale here. Hope you're having a good day today. And I'm bringing you a knife review of this Emp EDC Relative. This is a titanium frame lock in MagnaCut on bearings. It is pretty straightforward, honestly. But it's doing a lot of good stuff here. So let's get right into specs and move on to talking about this knife. I don't know what the hell happened there. My voice just cracked. I don't know. 3 inches and 3/8 of blade length, 7 inches and 7/8 overall, about 4.5 of handle, which is pretty good. Not terrible ratios, not terrible. For our comparison knives, we have the Civivi Elementum and the Civivi Conspirator, which was hiding from me, but is over here this time. As you can see, it is not quite the Conspirator length, but it is pretty darn close. I'd still call this... You know, in hand, it really... Even though it's that close to what I consider a full-size knife, in hand, it's... kind of feels more medium. It really doesn't feel that big. Feels a little more compact than it even is. At least in my personal opinion, so whatever good that does you, I don't know. Height, as you can see, is, yeah, it's a little bit taller than, honestly, both, though it's not quite as tall as the Conspirator with the flipper tab. It is close. So it is a reasonably tall knife. If you're used to Spydercos, it's still probably not going to be quite as tall as those, let's be honest. And thickness, it's reasonably thick. Not, let's see, is that about as thick as the Conspirator? Yeah, I guess it's about as thick as the Conspirator, if you're really getting in there. Oh, you know what? I just realized. Haha, that would help. Yeah, that probably helps. Just realized the entire time the light was off. Since we're talking about thickness, and since I have now properly officiated the video, I guess. Wow, it almost, I mean, exactly a half an inch. Which is definitely thinner than the Conspirator, just by a little bit. Blade stock thickness is a decently robust 145-ish thousandths. The blade is hollow ground. Well, it's a compound grind with a hollow in the rear and a flat up front for some tip strength. Behind the edge on the hollow grind should be relatively, get it, thin here. Not quite. .08. Wow, yeah. 8 thousandths. And behind the flat grind should be a bit thicker. Woo! Big old, much, like double. Wow. That is a big transition. It is very thin here, reasonably thick here, though this is still pretty darn good. Like, this is not bad. It does definitely get up thicker for that tip to give some strength there. So this thing can puncture. I actually like seeing that larger variance there. It's interesting. You don't see that much variance usually, at least not in my experience. Hardware is T8 all around, everything, including the pocket clip. T8's, in fact, including the lock bar insert, T8. So T8, that's all you need, which is, of course, always great to see. And as usual, I forgot the final comparison for the AA batteries for your grip comparison. Here's your how much room you have. Let's see. You don't have quite 2 AA batteries in the primary grip, though this is still enough to get my full hand in there, but you also have a choke-up position, which gives you considerably more than 2 AA batteries. And if you've ever wondered, the reason I do AA batteries is because not everybody knows how to compare it to this, because they don't necessarily have this. But AA batteries, that's something pretty much anybody can easily get a comparison to. Let's be honest, most people have some sort of AA battery somewhere in their house. In fact, if you don't, I'd be very surprised. Like, say it, because I'd be very surprised. I'd like to hear that if you don't have any batteries in your house. That would be amazing to me. I don't know why, but it would. 4.29 ounces. So not an ounce an inch or anything like that, but it's not heavy. It's reasonable. It is milled out pretty extensively in there, honestly. A lot of that weight's probably because the blade stock is a little bit thicker in general. And I think we are done with our specs here. So let's get into this knife real fast. This is it's a clip point blade. It does have a little bit of trail to it. I mean, it's not trailing, but it does technically lift back up a little bit instead of just being straight clip. It's kind of a buoy blade shape with a little bit less of the trailing point. I already mentioned the compound grind. You have the fuller and the hole for your primary method of actuation, but you also technically have a front flipper on this thing. And I will just say, this looks like the exact kind of front flipper you do not want to see. Wide jimping, not that wire EDM jimping. The apex here is rounded and not jimped at all, like at the front point of this jimping flipper. Blah, 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 blah. And yet, this works really well. So, while it's not necessarily maybe the most ideal of ones, this is executed to an extremely high degree. I mean, I don't know if the jimping's needed up there, but the jimping on this knife is actually providing traction. It is a little bit sharper than it maybe could be if it was that finer jimping, but that finer jimping achieves traction without being quite as sharp. But this is reasonably sharp with a decent amount of traction, and even up at the very top, it grabs you and works. So while it looks like it would be bad, it's not. It's really, really good, actually. So no complaints there. Also, no complaints is this choil up here. Very comfortable, and despite being relatively close to the edge, again, I do not feel like I'm going to slip up, actually, on this knife, which is odd, I will admit. Maybe if you start really sharpening into this thing and get down there pretty far. But until then, this thing cradles you pretty well. And it's pretty darn comfortable back here, too. I will say that I'm not in love with the plunge grind. It actually widens out a tiny bit, the plunge grind. You can actually kind of see that. See how it gets a little wider, and this lower tip is actually a little bit lower than the rest of the edge. That's because they screwed up with the plunge grind. It hits the edge. Now, the stop pin in this knife is attached to the blade up in here, and it runs on a track. So you can cut in your own plunge grind. You can make a little sharpening choil right up in front here. Maybe from like here forward, just a little lump. It might look a little bit odd because there'll be a second little bump there, or you could probably just bring it straight to the choil, honestly. If you just extend that down, you're not going to get messing with that. Your edge will get just a tiny bit further away, and you'll actually be probably even safer in here. So, yeah, I'm not going to complain about it. It could be better, but it's not bad. Magna cut blade steel down here because the blade is also completely sterile and very attractive because of that. And I do like the way they did this multi-directional satins. You got a satin on an angle here, you got a vertical, a horizontal there, and then you got some sort of, I'd call that a blasting in there. The edges are also slightly knocked down, but as you can kind of see from all the grit on there, they do grip your nails really well. It's like perfect amount, honestly. I'll give it that. This is made by Bestech, by the way, and they've done a very good job on it. This knife is centered, and in this one's case, yep, no play. Been a while since I've tested this one for play. I wasn't sure if it was going to develop any, but nope, none to speak of. Moving on to the handle. First thing is you have the Emp EDC logo, which is a little dude stuck in the center of a atomic structure there, which I like, and honestly I don't mind on the pivot. So Nice little touch. It's also a pop of color on this, otherwise black and silver knife. The lock bar access here is pretty darn wonderful. It sticks out, it's chamfered, super easy to get, and because of that choil, the blade drops kind of in front of your nail, mostly. Like, it's hitting my nail there, but it makes contact here before the edge actually touches me, so I'm not actually worried about that. You can kind of see that the edge is not touching me. So, yeah, really well done there. You're coming in from the side, great lock bar access, great functionality here. And you've got an over travel stop built into the... Do you have an over travel stop built into the... Huh. Oh, yeah, there is an over travel stop. It just built in up there, not there, or anything like that. Which is normal. I don't know. Brain dead for a second there. The milling on this knife is some just basic stripes or strips or whatever you want to call it. I like it. I don't mind it. There might be a frag version of this. I know Emp EDC does a frag version on a number of their knives. There may be a nimble, or a relative, sorry, with a frag version, but this or the frag version, I like. It looks good. It's simple, it's clean, but it's just enough. It adds some tactile feel to you, and it's honestly, it does add a little bit of grip. It's nice. It's deep enough that you're, getting something there. The rest of the knife in this case is just a PVD, I believe it is. I want to say PVD black. We have, and this is one thing that confuses me a little bit. This was the first run Nimble. This was number 125, in fact. Nimble, I keep saying that. Relative of the Nimble. Relative to the Nimble. Whatever. But this one had like an antique, like brass or bronze hardware on the backspacer and the, not hardware, but backspacer and pocket clip, while the rest of the hardware is this gold. I don't mind it. I like how both of them play with the rest of the knife. I just don't know why they're different from one another, right? Though there are definitely some other options. There are many options. I'm pretty sure there's different handle finishes, different blade finishes, different pocket clip options. You usually get a number of stuff that you can choose from with the Emp EDC, which is nice. The ergos are great here. Honestly, super neutral. And pocket clip is, yes, it's real big, but it's super flat, and it just works in the hand. It almost disappears, which is impressive for this kind of pocket clip. It just kind of feels like the rest of the handle. Pocket clip has good tension, and there is a flat spot underneath the pocket clip, which you can kind of see in there. There we go. To prevent this texture from destroying your pockets. It's also not too the tension is not too tight either, so good flex, good tension, flat spot underneath. Good execution overall. Not quite deep carry, mind you, but I mean, not that far off, right? It is not reversible, but I think they have done a lefty version of this knife. I'd be very surprised. I know they've done lefty versions before, so. But it's possible, if not primarily a right-handed knife. Unfortunately, that happens sometimes. Trade-offs, designs, etc., etc. There's also a lanyard, pretty good-sized lanyard hole here. Integrated decently into the handle. I don't necessarily care to have one of them, but it is there, and it's not really detracting from anything, so I'm not going to complain about it. As I just completely... yeah. Dig this knife in there, you're going to get a big track, because it is a thick bore up at the tip. So, overall, this is a pretty great knife. It is. I really do like this knife. There is one slight caveat, though, with this thing. And that's the price point. It's not doing anything astonishing. It's got a great style to it, but the price point is typically around $350. I think they are on sale at the moment of this video for like $325, which is much better. And honestly, where they should be probably all the time. I mean, I understand it's an OEM knife. It's not like a branded knife from Wii or Bestech. They're going to charge a slightly lower amount because, well, they don't have to worry about another party getting a piece, right? So I'm not going to call this thing like a $250 knife. It's better than that. It's executed really well. Smooth, nice. But I do think like $300 is where you might expect to see this thing on sale, with that $320-ish being the normal price. I understand for small companies that do small batch stuff like that. I'll make an exception, which is why I have this knife, right? Small little companies that are using OEMs, they're going to charge a bit more. They're going to have to, probably, to get anything out of it, to just finance maybe even the next run and get a little bit of taste for something, because that would be kind of pointless if you're not making anything ever. So I do give it an exception here, but yeah, the $350 price point does feel a little bit high for what this is, just being a titanium frame lock, right? Though it is well executed, and this hollow grind is quite thin and very, very well done overall. It's pretty even from side to side too, so I'm not going to knock it too hard, but yeah, of course, who wouldn't love to see a little bit cheaper, but I don't know. $320 feels like where this thing should be. $320, $325. Basically the price it is right now. So, and I don't believe they're sold out either, so yeah. That's the end of the review for the Relative. I'm going to get it right this time. And hopefully you liked the review, you saw something interesting. Hopefully this maybe, I don't know, it shows you a data point that you hadn't considered or something like that. Who knows? Maybe just like watching knife content. That's how I got started, right? Just like watching information about knives. Why? Don't know. But that is how it started. So I'm going to end things here. I will thank anybody for watching at any point in the video. Of course, they're not going to see it unless they've stuck around. Pity for them, right? And I will see you guys in the next one. Consider commenting, liking, subscribing, etc. You know, the standard stuff. See ya!